Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back to the Zosoms. My name is the Awesome J34, and today we're taking a look at the patch 1.63 dev server. Now today, well, this first aircraft that we're looking at is the most anticipated aircraft, probably from this whole update. The F9F-8 Cougar, which is essentially the F9F with swept wings slapped onto it. Now, I don't have a lot of time to make this video, so I'm just going to breeze through what's going to be added in 1.63. Nothing spectacular. But yeah, let's just start off with the F9F-8 Cougar. So the top speed on this thing, when it is not fully upgraded, is 988 kilometers per hour at an altitude of 610 meters, with the maximum altitude being 12,500 meters. Now, I believe that this aircraft will perform very, very well with MiG-15s, but not MiG-17s or any other type of top-tier jet, because it just isn't meant for that combat. But I think it'll be a fair opponent against the MiG-15, sorry, but it'll also help against the MiG-17 and stuff, because I have killed plenty of MiG-17s and stuff in my F9F-2, which I will have a video coming out on that soon as well. But yeah, this thing is going to be gorgeous. Once I get this thing, I'll do a video on it. Okay, so that's the only aircraft that America is getting. The only other tank that America is getting is the M163 VADS, 20mm Vulcan cannon. Top penetration on all the rounds is 40mm, and you're basically going to be penetrated by any machine gun from any distance, but from at least up close. You'll be able to kill the side leopards, but that's about it. Anyway, speaking of leopards, let's head over to the German tree, where one of the newest add-ons and probably the most anticipated tank of this update is the Leopard A1A1. Now, the leopards were ordered in batches, and this was the second batch of leopard, and essentially the only difference between the two is that this one gets a little bit of spaced armor here and there, 20mm on the side of the turret, and also till 10, but you also get 10 and 20mm at 35mm, sorry, at the front of the turret. Also, the other difference from this vehicle is that it gets a whopping 400mm penetration high explosive anti-tank shell. However, it is really expensive, and I mean really expensive, at 1,200 lions a shell. Anyways, let's move on to the most anticipated troll tank of this update. The 88mm Flak 37 truck. And this thing is going to be troll as hell, because with the maximum upgrade of crew and all the upgrades and stuff, you can get the reload on this monster down to 4.2 seconds at a battle rating of 3.7. Battle rating 3.7, 4.2 second reload on an 88mm gun. The exact same 88mm gun that the Tiger H1 and the Tiger E get. This thing's going to be fun. Anyways, let's move on to the last tank that the Germans are getting. The Raketen Jagdpanzer II Hot. So essentially this is a updated version of the Raketen Jagdpanzer that has, well, the same amount of armor, but the only difference is that it has a hot ATGM. And this is the second generation, so we will be able to control it using the mouse. Now, the hot gets 800mm of penetration, however, it doesn't really get any fragmentation, so you really have to hit things directly on with it. Now, if you hit an ammo rack, it's probably going to explode. Let's move on to the German aircraft for this patch, which we're only getting one, but boy is it a monster, the BV-238. Now, this is a flying boat. It'll probably be the biggest aircraft in the game. Has 6 engines and 5 turrets. 1 turret in the front, a turret on top that has 2 20mm MG151 machine guns, and 3 turrets in the back that house 4 13mm MG131 machine guns each. Oh, this is going to be a monster. It will also come with 20 250 kilogram bombs if you order this aircraft. Let's move on to the Russians. So, for aircraft, Russia isn't getting all that much except the Su-6, which is essentially an IL-10 slapped with the engine of an I-185 and equipped with 237mm and S-137 cannons. That's literally it. It's nothing really special. Nobody really knows why it's being added after the IL-10s, because the IL-10s are actually better than this thing. Anyways, let's switch over to the army, where the only two things that Russia is getting is this puny little gas truck, which, you know, like coax that the IS-2 gets? Actually, sorry, the IS-2 Mod 1944, and the coax that the ISU-152 and etc. like this get? Yeah, it's essentially a gas truck with one of those machine guns just slapped onto the back of it and placed at Battle Ring 1.0. It's basically going to be another 4M Gauss AAA. It won't be able to, well, it'll be able to penetrate you, but it serves no real purpose. Anyways, let's move on to the other tank of this update for Russia, the ZSU-23. Now, this anti-aircraft, the 23 millimeters are so high velocity that you don't need an aiming reticle, which I forgot to mention. The VADS, the 163 for America, does probably get an aiming reticle because of the little radar dish on top. And I actually forgot one thing for Germany as well. Oh gosh, how did I forget this? Oh, I just missed it. The Flak Panzer 1 Gepard, which is basically a Leopard chassis with a turret slapped on top of it that has 35mm Oerlikons that fire extremely fast. It's gonna be an okay tank. I believe that this thing is gonna be really good. Now, you see this little radar dish? I believe that this will give people the ability to have an aiming reticle in front of their aircraft that they're shooting at. Same thing goes for the the M163 VADS. Anyways, let us move back onto the Shavika, as I'm going to call it, because why not? So, the 23 millimeters are very high velocity. You won't probably really need a whole lot of lead with them to shoot down jets. So yeah. This is a tank designed on the PT-76 chassis, meaning that you have absolutely no armor, and you can be penetrated by every machine gun in the game. Anyways, let's move on to Britain, where we are getting a few aircraft and one tank. Let's go over the tank first, which is the FE 4202. Now, I have no idea, actually, why this tank is 6.0. It is a Centurion. Actually, no, this is the tank that was supposed to replace the Centurion. I don't know. It just is 6.0. Anyways, the real highlight of this tank will not be its hull armor, classic for, you know, the Brits, but its turret armor, which is gloriously sloped and angled in every which direction. I mean, it's not that strong, but it'll still bounce a hell of a lot of shells. Anyways, that's it for the tanks. Actually, no, it's not it for the tanks. We're actually getting an ATGM that's actually in the tech tree. The Swing Fire. Now, the ammunition on this thing gets 500 millimeters of penetration, so it won't be that bad. But once again, I think it's like the hot shell, well, the hot ATGM for the Raketen Jagdpanzer II. Hot, it's not going to have a lot of fragmentation. However, this tank will have a lot of ridgeline working for it. So, like the STR-V81, the shells, well, the ATGMs come flying up at a 45-degree angle or something, and then they fix themselves, and then you're able to, you know, aim it with your aiming reticle, as it is a second generation ATM. Same with the Raketen Jagdpanzer II, that is a second generation ATM. Anyways, people thought that this tank was going to have a turret that could rotate. It actually does not. You really, really need to be facing the thing that you want to shoot at it. But yeah, this thing will be a ridgeline worker. So much for the armor as well. You're getting pinned by machine guns, mate. Okay, let's move on to the aviation now. So, first things first, we are getting a 2.0 rank 2 bomber that comes with rockets. The Hudson Mark 5. I don't really know what to say to this thing. It looks like a DC-3, except for Britain. I don't know. Anyways, with a maximum bomb load, you can carry 8 armor-piercing Mark 1 rockets, and 6 100-pound bombs, and 4 250-pound bombs. It's going to be an okay aircraft, I feel. Anyways, let's move on as well to the one thing that we're actually getting inside the tech tree, which is the Brigand B1. It comes right after the Mosquitoes, and is at the same battle rating as the Mosquito FB Mark 6. Now, the Brigand is armed with 4 20mm Hispano Mark 5s, so you can use it like a Mosquito, but I don't really recommend it. If we take a look at the modifications, this thing can carry a whole hell of a lot of bombs and stuff. Two 500-pound bombs, 2 1,000-pound bombs, 16 RP-3 rockets, or 16 RP-3 rockets and 2 500-pound bombs. I have a feeling that people are going to be using the 2 500-pound bombs and the 16 RP-3 rockets. But anyways, yeah, that's all we got for Britain. Let's move on to Japan, which we are getting so many into. Oh wait, we don't have tanks yet. Thanks, Gaijin. Anyways, let's take a look at the one aircraft that they're actually adding, which is the Ki-87. Now, unfortunately, in this version of the dev server, there is no Ki-87s in the actual tech tree, which there will be in 1.63 release. However, we do have access to the Ki-87 Premium, which I will tell you now is gloriously a mixture of many planes. In my terms, it has the tail section and sort of middle fuselage section of a Ki-84, the frontal bit of a P-47, and the wings of a Ta-152. Which basically means it's a Ki-84 that's really bulky in the front and it has really long wings. Now, this thing is going to be quite a good aircraft, I feel, because even though it's a premium aircraft and you have to buy it using actual money because you can't use, because it's in a bundle, so you can't use Golden Eagles, this thing's going to be really fun for a whole bunch of people. It is armed with 2 20mm HO-5 cannons and 2 30mm HO-155 cannons. Both of them come with 300 rounds of ammunition, and they're all wing mounted. Maximum speed on this aircraft is 664 kilometers per hour, with the maximum altitude being 13,800 meters. That's a higher maximum altitude than the F9F-8 Cougar. This thing can fly higher than the Cougar. Anyways, that's really it for the dev server so far. I'm sorry I couldn't go over more things. Right before we end this video off, I'm going to talk about a few things that are also going to be added. So I have noticed so far that they're adding motion blur, or at least a little bit of motion blur, for aircraft. So keep a lookout for that. They haven't said anything about it, but yeah. Also, another thing is that they have updated the look of tracers, and which they look a lot better. I remember in patch 1.61, they made the tracers a lot fuzzier, but also bigger, and I thought that looked nice. But now what they've done is they've toned that down a lot. Now the tracers look really slim, and they actually look really nice for being really slim. I'll probably push a little video here of the Whirlwind firing off its Panzergranat 40, just to show you what that's like. I think I really like it. Anyways, the last thing is that 1.63 will supposedly have support for Nvidia's Ansel. Here's a screenshot I took with Ansel of some glitched Panzer IV-C AI. Hint, hint. Next, actually, no, you'll see it later. Anyways, yeah, hopefully it'll have support for Ansel. I really want Ansel. It'll actually help me to take high-quality screenshots. Also, me and my friend Chez were dripping around in the game options when we saw one thing. If you go into... No, I want controls. If you go into controls, and you go to its instructor, ship speed restriction below buoyant. I have reason to believe that 1.63 is going to include ships. Anyways, guys, I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.